Good Erev Shabbos. When I tell you literally this daf is for the birds, you'll see what I mean. This you, you cannot believe the Rashbam spent half an hour explaining the reproductive cycle of birds. It's fascinating. Really, this is really fascinating. Says the Mishnah. So we're discussing when you buy something, what's included in the sale. Pay, not pay. What's included in the sale. So the Mishnah says, Halakech peiros shoivach mechaveri. Now the key here is you're not buying the coop itself. You're buying the birds. Now, fellas, keep in mind, a person wants when you say he wants a coop, he doesn't want an empty structure. He wants a structure full of birds. But what you're purchasing is the peiros of that structure. So the question is, how many birds do you get? How many birds do you get? In other words, is it the rest of any single bird born at that particular time? Or no, there's a cheshbon. And we'll see, Bez Hashem, that one, in fact, there's a cheshbon. So if you go ahead and you purchase the peiros of the shayva from your friend, mafriach brecha rishayna, what you get is, you get the first brood. You get the first brood. So the Rashbam says that every month or so, every 2 months or so, it seems that they go ahead and they have children. They have children. So look at Rashbam. We're not going to do a lot of it. Let's do a little bit of it. Halakech peiros shoivich. He says in Nisan, Machli peiros shanazu. Sell to me the peiros of this coop for this year. Mashi yolda b'chol chodesh. Whatever is born each month. The original bird that's there is not part of the sale. It's the derech of doves. Every single month they have 2 children. They have 2 vladais. Zacha unekeva. Zacha unekeva. Chutz michodesh Ada, except in Ada. They're too much besimcha, right? Shein Yolden. They don't go ahead. And it's fascinating. They don't go ahead doves and have children in Ada. And these baby doves, right? They're capable after 2 months of them themselves being able to go ahead and have and reproduce. So they're very quick into the reproductive cycle. Each shnei vladais, which is a male and a female, is called a brecha, or what we call the brood. Okay? So if you go ahead and you're selling the peiros of this shayvach, the mother is not part of the deal, but the first brood is part of the deal. So the first ones born after 2 months would be what? Part of the deal. Again, let's say you buy it in Nisan and they give birth in Nisan, that first brood would be part of the deal. Okay? That first brood would be part of the deal. Peiros kaveres, if you bought the peiros of a beehive, now we discussed the beehive, we're not speaking about the natural made beehive, we're speaking about those boxes with the inserts that have the honeycomb in it, right? That's connected to the ground. We saw that's in the Karkala Rebbe Eliezer. We're going to revisit that today, right? Noitel Gimel Nechilim. You'll get what? 3 swarms. 3 swarms. And again, the Rashbam tells you something. I didn't look up. I was going to look up what's the term for beekeeping. There must be a term. Someone I'm sure is going to Google it. I can guess who it's going to be, right? A term for beekeeping, that there must be a term, and this is fascinating. I'm just doing it this is all for bloggable sake. If you look at the Rashbam, Gimel Chaburais Hanoldes Bishayna, the first 3 chaburas that are born, the Gimel Zmanim, Mites Yomim or Yud Yomim, Zeh Achazeh. In other words, every 9 to 10 days, the bees, not the birds, the bees, not the birds and the bees, the bees go ahead. Well, actually, we are discussing that. The bees, they get very crowded in the hive, and they leave, and it starts a new hive, right? Shekain derech hakaveres betchilas yimos hakayitz, in the beginning of the summer, yotzim min hakaveres, comes out of the hive, nechil shel devorim, a swarm of bees, Yoldois, Sheyoldu Imois, the ones who were just born. V'yoshim al anaf va'ilon, and they take residence upon a what? On an anaf. You might remember from Baba Kama, if a guy sees his swarm go onto another person's field and rest into the trees, and he goes to get it and he cuts down the branch, right? So the word is apiaritus, API, how do you pronounce that?
I think it's apiary, no? Something like that.
Yeah, apiary would be, so okay, a beekeeper. Okay, anyway. So apiary would be, okay. Anyway, so this he's telling you, the Rashbam is telling you the whole art of apiary, right? He's telling you, so now, continues Rashbam, maybe chaveres chodesh, umachnisim b'toichai, right? V'chein l'soif tesla yod yamim, yoitzin l'chil shel devoyer macher. Maybe kaveres acheres v'kanis umachnisim l'soichai. And so the guy brings another one of these inserts, a new kaveres, and puts it in. V'chein hashlishi. And the third time, v'koyim loy tirtzel. It's called tirtzel. It's called tirtzel. V'yesh oisim ad zayin v'chodesh pamim b'malchus yavan, 7 or 8 times in the Greek. V'malchus zeh ruben oisim gimel pamim, 3 times. V'ashlishi gerua mikulam. And it goes down in quality. The third is the worst of all of them. So the Rashbam tells us when it comes to beekeeping that every 9 to 10 days they produce a new swarm. And so therefore, if a person goes ahead, back in our Mishnah, and purchases a beehive for its what? For its bees, right? For its bees, the ones that are born, he gets 3 swarms, umisares. And then the owner of the beehive is misares the bees. Now there's 2 pshat in misares. Either he castrates the bees, which would be quite a feat, right? We'll see. Baruch. And then we'll see it can mean skipping. It can mean skipping, okay? It can mean skipping. Chalois devash, manichem beis chalois. If you buy the honey, you should leave 2 combs for the bees to live during the winter. Zaysim, if you go ahead and you buy an olive tree for its lumber, maniach shtei geraipiais. You leave 2 branches. Okay, leave 2 branches. So let's go to the first din of the Mishnah, is the din of birds. So what we saw in our Mishnah simply is the following. If you go ahead and you buy the produce of a shayvach, then you get, it's essentially, you're only getting 2 birds, the ones that are born. The only 2 birds that are born, that's what you're getting. It seems to be that way, right? You're not getting the existing birds, but you're getting those birds. Good? You're getting those birds. If you buy a hive, you're getting the first 3 swarms. We'll see in the Gemara, might be a machlokes. Now, before we begin going into the birds, l'chayra, didn't we just have a Gemara? If a person goes ahead and buys a pit for water that will come, it's a machlokes. If you hold davish lebala oilam, if you hold like Reb Meir, then I can understand why you're kaina. But if you hold Eina the Makna Davish Oilam, how could you go ahead over here and be Makna the bees, be Makna the birds when they're not in this world yet? What if you have the problem of Davish Oilam? That's the question that we Rishonim grapple with. Again, yesterday's daf, fellas, right? We said yesterday, like the Manda Omar, that you're Magdish, that you go ahead and sell a pit and there's no water in the pit yet. The Manda Omar says that what? That it's a Davish Oilam. Okay, so to answer that, the Rishonim deal with it. Here we have the Rambam. Okay, this Rambam, fellas, if you're interested, is in Mechira. It's in Hilchas Mechira, Perik Chav Gimel, Halacha Tes. Hamoicha Peris Shayvach. Someone sells the Peris of a coop, who Peris Kaveres, or the Peris of a hive, Lechaveroi, Kana. The Einze Moicha Davish Lebaloilam says the Rambam, that's not considered you're selling something that's not in this world. Lefi she'ena Moicha Yoinim Sheyaldu Oy Devash Sheyabil Kaveres. He's not selling the birds and he's not selling the Devash that's going to come. Elahu Moicha Shayvach LePeireisav. He's selling the Shayvach. And what is he selling in the Shayvach? Not the actual physical Shayvach, but the Peiris of the Shayvach. Oy kaveris l'davsha, or he's selling the kaveris for its what? It's honey. It's very interesting. The Rambam's learning the Gemara, our sugya, about the nechil. It's really you're selling the for honey, right? We learned at least the way I learned the Mishnah is that you were selling you were getting the bees. The Gemara's mashma, the nechil, the swarm of bees. The Rambam sees mashma going on the honey. Either way, right? Either way, there's a big difference between selling the birds themselves or selling the hull themselves, or selling the coop, or selling the kaveres, which is in this world, for its produce. It's like a person who goes ahead and rents a pool of water. So you have a water that's flowing. You're going ahead and you're renting it. What are you going to get? You're going to get any fish that come through this stream. You're going to get. They're not there yet, but the stream is there. You rented the stream for what? Not for the water. You rented the stream for what's going to be in the water. You didn't go ahead and buy the shayvich. You bought the shayvich, the rights for the shayvich, what's going to be in the shayvich. You didn't go ahead and buy the bees. You bought the kaveres for the rights of what's going to be in there. Like a person who sells an elan for its peiros. If you go ahead, throughout this Masechta, you go ahead and you buy a tree for its peiros, not for its wood. V'din kulam kidin asoiche bayis michaveroi k'moshamanu, like I said. Shunene b'chol haniyois sheyesh bo kenevol hana v'chein kol kayotze b'zeh. So Rambam is the Pesach to understanding the distinction between yesterday's daf and today's daf. Yesterday's daf, I bought a bar. What's going to come in the bar is not there yet. I didn't buy the bar for what's going to be in the bar. I bought the bar for the bar. So the mayim, which is kaviyachol, not kaviyachol, we can assume that the mayim, view mayim as the peiros of the bar. If I buy a bar, the peiros aren't there yet. But if I would buy the bar for the purpose of the water that would come into the bar, then everyone would hold the chayre that you kind of. A distinction. I'm buying a shayvich, not for the shayvich itself, for its peiros. I'm buying a tree, not for the wood of the tree, for its peiros. I'm buying a hive, not for the hive itself, but for its peiros. Rambam said the peiros was the masha from the Gemara that we're learning. The peiros is the peas. Guys, you had a chilik. It's a very nice chilik between the two to answer a big question that we should grapple with. Why is this not a problem of dava shalai ba la'olam? Why it's not a problem of dava shalai ba la'olam? Continues so now the Gemara. Let's deal with the birds. You told me you only get the first set of birds, right? You get the first set. Vatanya brecha rishoina ushniya. You get not only the first set of birds, but the second set of birds. In other words, you get mami, a daughter, and a granddaughter. Let's just deal with the females. You get a mami, a daughter, and a granddaughter. Yet our Mishnah says what? You only get a daughter. Rav Kahana says Rav Kahana like kasha. It's not a problem between the Brisa and the Mishnah. Hala for the mother, the child itself. Halaima. Our Mishnah, fellas, is speaking for the mother. The mother is enough to get what? One generation. Here's what you're worried about, fellas. If I'm buying a coop for its peiros, obviously the owner of the coop is not selling me the coop. He wants to ensure that there'll be doves there. If you go ahead and take away the dove, it's not going to have any camaraderie. It's going to leave. So what we're doing is by going ahead and ensuring that you're ensuring that this first group that's going to be there, that's going to ensure that the mother's going to stay. Because the guy is not selling you the coop. He's selling you, so to ensure that the mother stays, you need one generation. The Bryce is speaking about the child. This Bryce is speaking about the first generation, that child is a mother now to a second generation. Okay? So it's three generations. The mother, which was there at the time of the sale, the Brecha Rishayna, and the Brecha Shniya. The brecha rishayna is for the mother. The brecha shniya is for the child who's the mother of the brecha shniya. Now, the Gemara is going to ask a kasha. When you have two, so the mother has her compatriot, she has a daughter. Why did you need a third generation? The daughter has a mother, right? The first generation is not alone, it has a mother. Just like the mother is not leaving the coop because it has a daughter, the assumption is the daughter is not leaving coop because it has a mother. You needed that daughter to become a mother herself in order to stay. Good? As I read the Gemara. Maishna ima, what's the difference the mother? The mitzvasa abarta va'azuga. She has the company of her daughter and her mate. The shavkinan law, iunami, the child also, the first generation, the daughter, kitztavasa ima, she has the compatriot, her mother as a compatriot, as for company, va'azuga, and she has her mate. The shavkinan law ima, okay. The Shavkina law, that we should leave it. So therefore, why do you need the third generation? That's the kasha. Guys, look at my fingers, right? Clearly. First generation's there. Second one born, third generation. So the kasha is, the first one's going to stay because it has the second one. So why do you need the third generation? The second one's going to stay because it has the first one. Good? Now remember, first generation, the second generation is mother to daughter. Second generation, the first is daughter to mother. Third generation is what is mother to daughter. Good? So now, says the Gemara, fascinating. Again, fascinating Gemara. Says the Gemara, Ima abarta mitzvasa. A mother won't leave a daughter. Barta aima loy mitzvasa. But the barta aima will leave. So therefore, you need the second generation, that's the daughter of the first, to become a mother of the third. And now she's going to stay because she's the mother of the third. Now, what happens by three? Does it go on at forever? So I'll say fascinating machlokes Rashbam and Tosfos. Okay, Rashbam, count up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 lines from the bottom. 15 lines from the bottom. The first word on the line is Rishona Basabas. Got it? The Kivon, the Ikel Gimel Chaburis, once you have three groups, Afilu b'nei brecha rishona like arki. Even the first generation won't leave. The mitzvasa imam ve'emima, because it has what? It has the company of its mother and its grandmother. In other words, says the Rashbam, once you have three generations, that's it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. They have the mother, they have the grandmother, they have the nuclear, what I call a nuclear family. You don't have to worry after three generations. As I state in Rashbam. Let's see Tosfos. The end of the first Tosfos, at the end, 3 lines up. V'hu adin shniya shlishis revius. In other words, it's ongoing. You always have to leave over forever that next one. Ela da'atu ki ruchla lechashev v'lezel. Is the Gemara a peddler that has to talk and talk and talk? Once you hear one generation, 2 generations, then you know Memela, 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations. So you have machlokes between the Rashbam and Tosfos. Is the third generation dafka? In other words, well, no, it's not dafka, right? That in Achinami, after 3 generations, you don't have to worry. So machlokes Rashi, the Rashbam and Tosfos. Okay. Now, Peris Kaveres, the Noitel Gimel Nechilim, Misares, the Peris of the honey of the beehive. You take 3 swarms and then Misares. The Mamisarsim, now the first pshat, guys, is literally sterilize them. The Mamisarsim, Amrav Yehuda Amashmuel, the Chardal, mustard. Amri Marava, Mishmeid Rabbi Yaisi Barchanina, Loy Chardal Misarsim, El Mitoich Shepiem Chad, Chayzeres Vaicheles Es Doivshan. It's not the Chardal that sterilizes them, but since their mouth is burning from the Chardal, they're going to be busy eating their honey. Now, how does this stop Pir v'rivya? So look at Rashbam. Rashbam about 13 lines up. Vaycheles es Shanan, umitoich sviyasan, since they're saiveya, they're satisfied from eating their honey. Betelas mi pir v'rivya. V'chayzis vayis devash. They'll be too busy making honey to worry about going ahead and procreating. Again, fascinating, just fascinating stuff. How do you misaris? The first shot is So once you give the chardal, the effect of the chardal is they're going to be busy eating the honey, and then they're going to replace the honey, so they'll be busy with that. They're not going to go ahead and deal with pirivivia making more bees. So that's going to go ahead and misaris the moicha. In other words, the moicha can do that to ensure that he's not giving away a tremendous amount of bees. All he's required to give the guy who bought the bees is 3 swarms, or else it's ongoing all the time, correct? So no, after that, you can go ahead, and you can go ahead, be misaris them, and you don't have to give any more than that. That's the first pshat. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, back in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, noitel shloshen nechilin, bisirus. You take 3 swarms, bisirus, in not consecutively. You'll take swarm 1, swarm 3, swarm 5. You'll take 3, but not 1, 2, 3. Sirus does not mean that he's misaris the bees. Sirus means that you get your swarm in increments, not exactly one after the other. B'masni santana, in the Basra we learn noitel gimel nechilin b'zeh achazeh. He takes 3 in a row. Mikan ve'elech noitel achas umeiniach achas. So what he does is the Mishnah, guys. Here's what you learn in the Mishnah. Look at the Mishnah. Noitel gimel nechilim. He takes 3 consecutively. Umisares, and after taking 3 consecutively, afterwards, then he takes them bedilug. He takes them skippingly. So like the first shot, he's only getting 3. Right? He's only getting 3. He's getting 1, 3, and 5. And Zehu. Like the Brisa or the Tosefta, you know what he's getting? He's getting the first 3 together, and then after that, he's getting a month consecutively. He's going to skip, but he's going to get more than 3. Right? And Rashbam says that's the halacha. The halacha is conjunction with that last opinion. We said chalis devash, meniach shtei chalis. Chalis devash, you're going to leave shtei chalis. Okay. The next sugya till the next Mishnah is a sugya of Tumah V'Taira, guys. Not next Mishnah, but it's a sugya of Tumah V'Taira. Okay, let's go. We know there's something called Tumas Oichlin, that food can contract Tumah. If you have a mashu of food, it can become Tameh. In order to go ahead, and transmit Tumah, right? In order to transmit Tumah, it has to be the share of a beitza. It has to be the share of a chicken egg. In order for a mashka to go ahead, it has to have a revius. So to be mekabel tumah, it's any amount. To go ahead and take that tumah and transfer it down the line, it has the share of solid food is what is a beitza. Usually a kazayas. This share is a beitza, and the share of a mashka is what is a revius of a loig, a quarter of a loig. What we call the revius by kiddush, machlokes is 3.9, 5.2, depending on Moshe or Chazanish. Okay, so with that in mind, what's the halachic status of honey when it's in the hive? Is it considered a food stuff right away, Michael Adam, and it can transmit tumah? Or is it considered bee food and it's not Michael Adam and what? It can't transmit tumah. That's the shaila. Amar Rav Kahana, devash b'kaveres, when the honey is in the hive, eini yotzei midei Michael. It does not. It's meaning it transmits tumah. We don't say it's not a food stuff, that it's the food of bees, but automatically it's considered Michael Adam, and therefore it transmits tumah in the share of a beitza. Loilam alma ksavar loiboy machshava. We see Rav Kahana is of the opinion you don't have to think of the honey as human food. Automatically, it's human food. There's certain things that can swing both ways where it's machshava that creates it. Over here, you don't, guys, there's a svara to say until it comes out of the hive, it's Michael Dvash of honey, of bees. And if it's bees food, then it's not going to transmit tumah. Says Rav Kahana, not only is it human food, you don't even need the machshava to create it to be human food. Automatically, it's human food. Mesivei, guys, got Rav Kahana Shita because the Gemara is going to be predicated on that. Okay, that's Rav Kahana Shita. Mesivei. Devash b'kaveres, eina loy oichel v'loy mashke. When a devash is in a kaveres, it's not an oichel to need the share of a beitza, nor is a mashka to need the share of a revius. It itself can become tameh, but it's not going to go ahead and transmit tumah. Kasha on what? On Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana said if it's the hive, it's mamish and oichel. Why did the Mishnah say we're going to leave the hive to survive during the winter months when they're not busy pollinating and creating honey? We're going to go ahead and allow them to eat honey. We're going to leave 2 combs in the hive. Clearly, those 2 combs are not Michael Adam. Those were leaving for the Dafka. We're leaving them for the bees, guys. Rav Kana was speaking about the ones not left for the bees. The ones left for the bees, of course, they're going to be not Michael Adam. So when it says that it's not an Eichel, it means the 2 that were left inside. That's a Bayashita. That's a Bayashita. Now, we met Rabbi Eliezer the other day. Rava Amar Rabbi Eliezer, so that brisa that says it's not an Eichel is Rabbi Eliezer. Back in the Gemara, Ditnan Kaveres Devoirin be hives. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Harihu Karka. It has a din of karka, right? Look at Rashbam. Harihu Karka, 2 lines from the top. The Hilkach. Afila v'mchishiv alecha. Even if you could think about, oh, I'm going to eat that, lehavi Michael, lekabel tuma. It's not a Michael to go ahead and be makabel tuma. I said transmit tuma. Even leyochel to makabel tuma. Kidenafkele mi v'yoris advash. Fellas, if I go ahead and there's wheat in my field and it's connected to the ground, and I say that wheat is mukhshel lekabel tuma. What's the halacha? Because anything that's mechubal karka is karka, and karka is not makabel tuma. So Rebbe Eliezer is of the opinion that a beehive is karka. Memela, the honeycombs that are in the beehive are karka. So when the Brisa said, right, that we asked of Kahana, that it's speaking not speaking about those 2 hives. It's speaking to two combs. It's speaking about all the combs. All the combs are not food. Why? Because they have a din of karka. And just like if I would go ahead and think about wheat that's connected to the field, it would not go ahead and make it roy for tumah. Who had din the combs in the hive? You could think all you want. That rice is Rebbe Eliezer, and therefore they're not makabel tumah because they're karka. Continuing on applications of karka, the koisel of prisbal. Remember, we spoke this out. A person's not going to lend you money unless you have some type of collateral. The Einam Mekabel is Tumah. It's not Mekabel Tumah, which is what we need. B'Mekoma when it's Einam Mekabel Tumah when it's in its place, when it's connected. If you said Big Chiddush, if you go ahead and take a comb out of the hive on Shabbos, it'll be like cutting wheat on Shabbos. If you cut wheat in the field on Shabbos b'shogeg, you chayav achatas. Because if you do it b'meisa with Eidim Nasra, you become a skila. So who adin if you go ahead and take the comb out? Right? So these are applications showing it's considered karka, that it's considered mechubed lekarka. Okay, now, Amar Rebbe Elazar, my time with the Rebbe Eliezer, it says by Shol had made a shvua that they were getting Yavish Gila, some Nachash Amoni, they were getting somebody, I forgot who, and he said no one should eat anything, and he made a shvua and nether, and Yehonasan came upon a honeycomb, and he put a stick in it, and he stuck it in, and he ate, and it gave him koyach. The Yitboy saw be Yoris Advash, and he put it in the Yoris Davash. Yoris literally is what? Is a forest. What does the yar have to do with honey? Okay, that's the reason. So he compares it to yar, and it's karka. Okay, so now, guys, let's go. What's the kasha? What's the teretz? Said Rav Kahana that honeycombs are what? Are food. Honeycombs are food. Yeah, that's it. The food, and they makabel tumah, and they transmit tumah. Says a brisa, when the honeycomb is in the hive, it's not an oichel, it's not a mashke, it's nothing. It's not makabel tumah. That's what it said. Mamish is stira to Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana can't argue with a brisa. 2 ways to answer up Rav Kahana. 1, the brisa is speaking about the 2 combs that we left for the bees. Everyone agrees that for the bees it's not makabel tumah. After all, it's not Michael Adam. What was Rav Kahana speaking about? The other various combs that were not left for the bees. Second teretz. No, it's speaking about all the combs. But it's going according to the shita of Rebbe Eliezer. In other words, that brisa is a das yochid. It's the shita, not of the chachamim who say it's like metaltalin, but it's like karka. Since it's like karka, it's like any food stuff that's connected to karka. Any food stuff that's connected to karka is not makabel tumah. A male will view the honey and the combs connected to the karka. A male is not makabel tumah. Those are the two terutzim of Abaya, the two honeycombs, and Rava, Rebbe Eliezer. Good. Now we got that straight. We can go. We can proceed. Bishlem Abaya. Very good. Abaya says it's speaking about the two honeycombs left over. Nicha. Then it's very, very good, right? Elul Rava Kasha. I met Mesave. Excuse me, I skipped Mesave. The vash hazav mikavartoi. The vash that oozes out of its comb, out of the hive. Einoi loy oichel v'loy mashka. It's still not a foodstuff. Now, fellas, once it oozes out, is it karka anymore? No. So, Bishlema, according to Abaya, who says it's speaking about what? The two leftover combs. That two leftover combs is never foodstuff. Why? Because it was for the bees. So there's no difference when it's in the hive. There's no difference when it's out of the hive. But like Rebbe Eliezer, who says that it's only not a food when it's karka, which is Rav's teretz to say that the Bryce is speaking about, according to Rebbe Eliezer, once it oozes out, it's not karka anymore. It should be a foodstuff. Kashan Rava. Meisive, devash hazav mechavartoi eina lo yochel v'lo mashke. Bishlem la'abaya nicha. Once it oozed out, it's still no difference. It's not going to be food. Why? Because what's oozing out? The two that were left for the bees. El Rava, who says that what the sheet is Rebbe Eliezer, that it's karka, kasha, because once it oozed out, it's not karka anymore. It's speaking where it was zov on top of a dirty kli, and therefore it's not food. On wooden splinters. The bottom line is, if it didn't land on something that's moist or something that will cause you harm by eating it because there's splinters in it, it would be a foodstuff. In this case, it was an external item that made it not a foodstuff. Okay, that the Brisa says when it comes out, it's not an eichel, is because it's on an external foodstuff that would go ahead and make it disgusting or dangerous to eat. Mesidei, the vash b'kavartoi, the vash when it's in the kaveres, eino loy oichel v'loy mashke, it's nothing, right? Nothing. But if you go ahead and think about it, I'm going to eat it. Mitama tumas oichlin, le mashkin. If you think about it as a liquid, mitama tumas mashkin. Tumas oichlin will be a beitza, tumas mashkin will be revius. Guys, outside, let's figure this out. It's in the hive. It's connected to the hive. It's connected to the hive. And it's in there. And I went ahead and I thought that this honey is going to be for me. I'm going to eat it. Now, according to Abaya, who says, we're speaking about the honey of bees, would my machshava to make that honey roi for a person help? Yes, yes. Again, leaving it for the bees means it's for the bees. Once I say I'm making it for myself, it would help. But if I'm telling you that it's attached to the ground, you could think about it all you want. Heint bis morgen, right? Kenny, heint bis morgen. From morning to evening, right? You could think about it all you want, but if it's karka, it's attached to the ground. So again, it's good according to Abaya, and it's going to be Shver and Rava. Says the Gemara. So Ella Bishlem Ela Abaya Nicha. Abaya, who said it was speaking about the two combs that I left for the bees. Now that I'm thinking about it for people, that machshava would help to make it a food. Ella Rava, like Rava, who says that what? That it's karka. I could think about it all I want. It's not going to help. Kasha. Okay, let's look at Rashbam here, guys. Go down a little bit. Ella Rava Kasha, the Rav Kahana. The Balkarchach Lav Rebbe Eliezer. It can't be Rebbe Eliezer. The machshava le mahanya le l'shavia ketolish, because your machshava can't make it disconnected. Your machshava can make it into a food. It can't make it into a disconnect. Ki hechik le mahani le peiris mechubarim le karka. Just like peiris that are attached to the ground, your machshava can't make it roy le kabel toma. So So geschmack is anything, guys, right? Geschmack. It makes sense. So your machshava can make it into a food. That would make sense a lot according to Abaya. It would not make sense according to Rabbi's teretz. Amalach Rava teretz hachi. Says Rava, chishav alov la'achila. Don't say it's metama, right? Eina metama to masaychlin. Lemashka eina metama to mismashkin. In other words, this is a brisa. It could be corrupt. Just put in the word einai. And why won't be? Because it's like karka. So that's the way Rava would escape. Tani kabasi de Rav Kahana, brisa, right to Rav Kahana, that it's a foodstuff automatically. Devash b'kavartoi mitami to masaychlin shaloi b'machshava. That devash is when it's in kaveres with mitami to masaychlin shaloi b'machshava. Good. Okay. The last part of the Mishnah was, let's go back to the Mishnah, was the olive tree. The olive tree. Zeisim lakutz meniach shtei grofios. You got to leave 2 branches. You got to leave what? You got to leave 2 branches. Okay. So now we're gonna get it. We're finished with the birds and the bees. Now we're going to the trees. Says the Gemara. Tanabanan halakech ila mechaverai lakutz. If you're buying a tree from your friend for the wood, you're not buying the tree, guys, right? You got to leave him a tree. Just like by the case of shayvach, you're leaving him the shayvach. Over here also, you're leaving him a tree. Also there, you're leaving him a tree. So now, halakeach ila mechaverai lakutz magbia min akarka tefach. You got to leave off the tree a tefach. The kaitzitz and cut. Besulas hashikma. If it's that sycamore tree which was never pruned, gimel tfachim. You have to leave 3 tfachim. Saden hashikma. If it's a pruned sycamore tree, base tfachim. You got to leave the base tfachim. In other words, all these cases, the tree will grow. Bikonim ubegafanim, whether it's reeds or gafanim or kerem, minat bekak ulamayla. Right. Then from the bekak, I think that's a knot. I guess a certain knot that was located on the tree. From that and above. But the kolim ubarazim, when it comes to a dekel, a palm tree, ubarazim, a cedar tree, chayfa umashrish. Go ahead and take out the whole tree. Once you cut the cedar tree, and once you cut the sycamore, not the sycamore tree, the dekel, it's never going to grow. So obviously, when the person sold it to you for the wood, he knew he was losing his whole tree. Guys, this is important. In other words, usually, if I sell a tree for its wood, I want you to leave over a tree. So the Gemara was giving shiurim how much you're allowed to take that the tree will regenerate. Conversely, if you're going to go ahead and buy a dekel and buy an eres, you're going to buy a cedar tree or a dekel. Once you cut the tree, it's automatically never going to regenerate. So Mela, what's he selling you? Everything. So you might as well dig the roots out also. That's what the Gemara says. Ubesulas hashekma gimel tefachim beinin. You're telling me an unpruned sycamore tree, you need gimel tefachim. Uremini aleshu astira. Ein koitzesim besulas hashekma b'shviyas. Again, you're not allowed to go ahead and prune trees in the Shemitah year. That's going to improve it, correct? So it's the Shemitah year. You can't cut a sycamore tree mifnei shehi avoida, because it's an avoida. Rabbi Yehuda Omer kedarkai asa, less than 10 it's asa. Elamagbia yutfachim, go ahead and elevate it yutfachim. The kaitzeitz, and you cut it. By goyim me'im aretz, or you can cut it by ground level. Now, me'im aretz hu dekasha idach ma'ilulei. In other words, if by Shemitah I don't want to do work, so when am I able? If I cut it ground level, then I'm not over this Shemitah. Mashma, anything above ground level would be good for the tree because it's going to regenerate. So what do you see? You see that you don't need 3 tefachim. Even 2 tefachim would do the job, or 1 tefach would do the job because only doesn't do by ground level. Amar Abaya, gimel tefachim ma'alila. If you do gimel tefachim, it's good for the tree. Me'em aretz vaday kashala. Ground level is difficult for it. Mikan ve'elech, between ground level and 3, loy makshi kashiloi, it's not bad for it. V'lav ilule ma'ilulei, and it's not good for it. So therefore, it's kind of no man's. Gabe shviyas avdinon midi de vaday kashala. By Shemitah, we want to do something that Vadai is bad for the tree. We don't want to work it. So I can't go ahead and do 3, 2, 1, because that, even though it's bad for the tree, but not as bad as if I do 0. So you can do by Shemitah, you can do 0. Mekach u'memkar avdin and midi devadei malila. Mekach u'memkar, you have to cut it, but you have to cut it what's good for the tree, right? And what's good for the tree is 3 tefachim. So therefore, again, when it comes to trees, 3 is good, and less than that is not. But 0 is zichabed. Now, we said b'tekolum barazim, chayfa umashris. When it comes to the kolim, it comes to palm trees, and it comes to cedar trees. When it comes to palm trees or it comes to cedar trees, then they never regenerate. So if the guy sold it to you, he doesn't expect anything for you to leave anything. So go chayfer, the shroshim, take the whole thing. Fred the Gemara, the Erez ein gizlei machlif. You're telling me a cedar tree doesn't regenerate? For Dorish Rav Chia bar Yoni, my dichsiv tzadik hatama yifrach keras bavonon yiskeh. I would say a tzaddik will go ahead; he'll grow like a date palm, and the Erez, the trees of Lebanon, will go ahead and grow. So you see, what does that mean? Im nema tamar lama nema Erez, im nema Erez lama nema tamar. Why do you just say tree? Ilu nema Erez lama nema tamar. Why would I say? You see, Omer ma Erez ein oisaperis. Just like a cedar tree doesn't make fruit, av tzaddik ein oisaperis. Like a date tree, a date palm makes fruit. If you just say a date palm, just like a tamar does not regenerate. Therefore, it says erez that he will regenerate. So, what do you see? That an erez regenerates. Kasha, you told me an erez does not regenerate. You see from over here, an erez does regenerate. What are we dealing with? What kind of erez? We're not dealing with the classic cedar tree. We're dealing with the other cedar trees. Kiderabba baravhuna. Okay, there's a pasuk over here that describes. We had this Gemara before. The pasuk says, "Etein bamidbar eresh shita v'hadas ve'etz shemen osim ba'arava b'roish tidhar." So pasuk in Yeshayim Mem Aleph, and he goes through a bunch of list of 7 cedar trees. So the cedar tree that doesn't regenerate, that's the classic cedar tree. The other 6 that would regenerate. Kiderab Rav Huna, Damar Rav Huna, Amar Bei Rav, Yud Minei Razimhein. There are 10 types of cedar trees. Shnemar Etein Bamidbar Eresh Shita Adas Eight Shemen Veres, and there's a list of 7. Now here he goes. Erez is Arza, that's the classic cedar tree. Shita is Tunisa. The Rashi says, Rashbam says it's a pine tree. Hadas, that's an Asa, that's what we use for Dalad Minim. Eitz Shemen is a Farsama, that's a balsam tree. Beroish is Barasi, is the Otzral Taich to the cypress tree. Tidar is Shaga, Otzral Taich is a teak tree. And the Sa'ashur Shruvina is a Shruvina tree. So therefore, these are the ones that would regenerate. Fred the Gemara, Hani Zayin, there's only 7. And you told me there was 10. Kiyasar Avdimi Amar Pasifu Aleim Elonim Elmonim Elmugim. Right? What are these trees? Elonim is Butni, Elmonim is Bluti. The oak trees. Elmugim is what? Is coral. Look at the top. Rashi. Kasisa is something's burning. Hang on a second. What's going on? Okay, just Kasisa. Look at the top Rashi. Top Rashbam. Elon Shagodl Biyam, it's a tree that grows in the water. The Yakar Harbe, it's very expensive. The Koirin Coral. Right? It's called coral. Right? Isn't coral like a living animal or something?
A tree, it's an animal. Yeah.
But is that alive, or are there animals that live in it?
No, it's alive, and then they die and they solidify, and that becomes the reef.
Okay, anyway, this is according to Chazal, again, they viewed it like as a tree, coral, but it's in the sea. Zicha, it's talking about the same thing. So those are the 3 of the 10. Ikadiami, Aronim, Armonim, Almugim, whatever these trees are, is Aronim, is oral, is a laurel tree. I'm just using the art scroll. Armonim is Dulbia, chestnuts. Almugim is Kasisa, that's coral. So that would be the other. So the Kasha is, L'chari doesn't regenerate. That's the classic Erez that doesn't regenerate. But the other 9 seem to, they would regenerate. Geschmack of